Greetings, everyone. Welcome to my sketchbook. It's going to be an interesting day today, I think. I have a bit of running around to do. I mean, I could probably get away with doing it tomorrow. Sometimes it's just good not to put stuff off. I was kind of reminded of something kind of funny. Many years ago, I had some roommates who pretty cool guys, and I'm talking like 25, 30 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. So quite some time ago. But every once in a while, I just kind of think of that time period. Let's go to here, actually. I probably talked about this a little bit in the past before. Let me see. What am I going to come up with here? Anyway, so I had different rules. Ooh, and I'm about to drip ink there. Different rules when it came to sharing groceries and things of that nature with the roommates that I had. Where I lived, canned pop was actually kind of like a pretty rare thing. So pop was, or well, soda, as some of you might actually refer to it as. It was actually bottled around where I lived, so cans were not really a recyclable thing, being that, refillable was the way to go. And so it was always a big deal to have canned pop. For me, I would have to make these trips in order to go get it. So the rule, though, was when I would get home from my job, I basically looked forward to having a can of whatever the pop was. So if it was like Coca-Cola or whatever. And I was happy to share. That was the other thing. So you could help yourself to whatever's there, just so long as you save me one. That was kind of like my kind of rule, because I was happy to share. And no one really violated that because they knew that they could help themselves. It's a strange sort of thing, but it was only violated once, and I wasn't too happy about it, where somebody finished them all off on me because they had guests or something like that. And anyway, no, I wasn't too happy about that. It's strange, isn't it? It's a strange thing to just sort of ramble on about. Anyway. So yeah, I don't know what this picture is turning into here. Try dipping this pen here again. I may have to clean this out. I can see that it's making its way through the feeder into the reservoir, and this is a pen that I don't actually fill, but it's getting in here to the plunger part. And yeah, no, I'm gonna have to clean it here soon enough, I think. So that's not the worst thing, but something seems a little bit off with it at the moment. So just sort of sketching. Yeah, I don't know why that story popped into my head while I was sitting down with this. This is not like a self-portrait or anything like that, though, so sort of an image in my head that I'm pulling out on paper, basically. Maybe it has something to do with the concept of taking from somebody, maybe. It's a strange idea that you'd be willing to perhaps give the shirt off your back, but if someone comes along and simply steals your shoes while you're sleeping, that is far worse. Now, with that little scratch out of something that I did here, I wonder if there's something more that I could do with that. Well, let's see. If there's a part of the image that can kind of be cleaned up a little bit, maybe just add some details into it. It's always the trick, don't you think? You might be able to, and I might try to get the image to age a little bit. Go with an older looking person, maybe. I don't know where this face came from. It's not Anthony Quinn. A lot of what you see or draw or what have you, you're kind of pulling it from a memory bank of some kind, and sometimes it's just like, you know, you're kind of making it up, and sometimes it's a mistake of the pen or what have you, but you usually get some kind of familiarity out of something. This person's kind of hunched over. A couple of days ago, I drew a picture of, well, it started actually more than a few days ago, but anyway, it was a deep sea diver and a space cowboy. Maybe this has something to do with that, and that could be some sarsaparilla root. You know, someone's having a root beer. Old-fashioned root beer is actually pretty good. And sometimes you can get them with a like cane sugar rather than, you know, the high fructose corn syrup, which honestly is not the worst stuff on the planet. It's not super great. I mean, anything that's processed, I mean, it kind of goes through a process of stripping it of its nutritional value, but sugar is not really something that I would say is part of that nutritional value thing. So, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, the cowboy hat. Well, I wonder if I could kind of put like a Western style hat on this. So I'm going to start with figuring out the fitment of the hat, and then how I want the brim to look. Maybe tip down a little bit in the front. Let's go with the actual hat itself here, sort of style-wise. Pinch there. Let it kind of get set. So it's not super wide brim. Not so much like a coffin back here, but it's a wondrous skill set for anyone who builds hats, who forms and shapes a hat, especially like, the true custom kind of stuff, made to fit your head, that sort of thing. You can go buy a thing off the shelf. My everyday hat is a bucket hat. I have a few bucket hats. But I would say, yeah, no, it's not really like it's not custom, really. What else do we got going on here? So if this is like, is this a vest? And then, is it a leather vest? So is it, I'm going to have it so that's sort of stitched together. Something like that. Suppose a much wider brim would have been kind of neat. I didn't really enjoy watching westerns so much when I was a kid. There's something maybe too real about it. Growing up, like I would have learned to shoot with my grandfather and stuff like that, but guns were not toys to us. So we didn't have toy guns around. And westerns, for whatever that reason is, had a lot of that gun play and whatnot involved in it. I'm just getting a cup with some water in it and a paintbrush here. And so what I'm going to do is just move some of that ink around a little bit. It almost, in a way, helps to do some shading. So I can go back in and I can change a few things in it a little bit later. But shows like the Rifleman, Gunsmoke. Yeah, I didn't really watch that stuff. Bonanza. I mean, the stuff that was kind of before my time. To be honest with you. But that doesn't mean that, television wasn't around when I was a kid. Obviously it was, so. And they would make shows for whomever. So if you're sitting around on a Sunday afternoon or Saturday morning, you want to have something to watch. So you'd watch something Western style, and a lot of them were repeat sort of things. I don't know the actor that kind of popped into my head for this. I can kind of picture somebody, but as I said, it's not Anthony Quinn. I'll really have to think about this. I only picture him really in my head as having gray hair, so probably later in his career. Maybe played like Army generals or something too. Now that hat is not. Yeah, I don't know where that's gone. It's sitting rather high. I don't know if this person played bad guys. So, I mean, I don't think I made up this person. That's kind of what I'm getting at. This is just kind of a doodle anyway, so familiarities are not intentional. I don't have something in front of me that I'm copying this from. Oh. I'm going to have to set up a little bit more ink underneath here. I'm going to drag out some shadow. And then I can go back to this other stuff once it dries a little bit. For whatever reason, I was thinking about those roommates and taking the last of my can pop and how that was the rule. I think they caught on. I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous. There is a huge difference between a nice guy and a good man. And my hope as I got older was to be a good man. May not seem like a big difference, but I think a good man is somebody who doesn't allow things or people to break some part of a code. Not that I have a true code. Maybe I do. A certain morality, whereas nice just means that you're just complying and you might step aside and continue to let bad things happen. I kind of think of that as a possibility. Yeah, if you see something wrong going on, I think you should stand up and say, well, I don't think this is right. That's not a nice thing to do. Sometimes nice isn't polite. And then if it's not polite, then it's good. Nice always tries to be polite, if that makes sense. At least that's how I see it. Right now I'm just adding some unnecessary little flecks in here, and then I will move on from that. Already I don't know if I like this very much, what I've done here. It's a sweet looking Amish beard we got going here. Change that, English. So I went from just a stubbly face to this. Before that really soaks in, I'm going to lighten it a little bit too. Let's get rid of some of this up here. Okay. Now I'm going to drag out some of the ink a little bit here around the eyes. A little bit around the ears. So this person's really wearing a hat, some shade. This almost looks a little bit like that comic book character, maybe Jonah Hex. I think that was turned into a movie with the fellow that played Thanos, Josh Brolin. I often think about Josh Hartnett, who's a fantastic actor, when I think of those two guys. Anyway, Josh Brolin, I think, played Jonah Hex. A live action adaptation of that comic. Let's lighten the back of this a little bit here too. Okay. A little bit here. A little bit here. Make sure that some of the wrinkles in the fabric kind of show a little bit. So yeah, if you like, let me know in the comments if you had a sort of a generosity rule, something that you would let people know that they could have access to something just so long as they didn't take advantage of you. Or if that's really a thing that you might have had. Okay, clean the brush a little bit. For some reason, some of these doodles for me, they almost make some sort of sense time limit wise to be in that close to 30-minute thing. I can get away with just doing, like, let's see, that's still kind of damp. Yeah, I don't mind doing like short videos and stuff like that, but when I sit down to draw, I don't really like to set too many time limits. It's good too, I guess, but it's not really my thing to do that. I'm not doing anything too serious here. Now, I'm just adding a little bit of the detail back in that I took away with brush and water. A couple little sprigs of hair kind of show up out of there. Now, here I'm going to have part of that can, because I want it to be an obvious can. Yeah, it's happening. That's just so ridiculous. I don't know why I think that's so funny. I promise you, I'm probably the only one who thinks that's funny. Put your pinky out just because. A little bit of a few sprigs. Sprigs of hair. I don't know how many of you have gotten into Yellowstone. People are still very much fascinated with ranching. So, I mean, there's a definite interest in that sort of thing, and there's kind of rules I would think that ranchers have when it comes to defending their property and things like that. Now, if I'm going out of my way, do some of this. I should, in the very least, finish off some of the back end of whatever's going on here. Gotta have a pair of jeans, let's say, just so I can get down past the hand here. With your dungarees, gotta have the loops on the pants. And some semblance of the original pass-through. That's for the back pocket. Along here you could have a seam for the pants. And you might have a copper seam. There's a name for that button that they put on pants that prevent the pocket from being torn off. It's a rivet, but I think there's another name for it. Maybe just stick with rivet. But I do believe there is another name for that. Or maybe I got it right with rivet. Now, okay. Let's back that out just a little bit, maybe. Let's see here. What else do I need going on here? Well, I could probably do a little bit of the pants here. And maybe a little bit with the belt. A little bit of shadow works there. All right, so I'm going to get a cup and water, and then maybe a little later on today I might clean this pen so that it just doesn't get too gummed up. I'm sure some of you heard me talking about this before, but I'll mention it again. If you're anywhere where you see true vintage jeans, and if you're, whether you're a collector of that kind of stuff or not, I'm not a reseller, mind you, I'm just aware that they have tremendous value. So the older those jeans are, the better. Yeah, so if you're anywhere and they look like, you know, ragged, hole, infested, get a good look at them. They could be exceptionally valuable because vintage jeans are highly sought after. It's sort of like old canvas. Like, I mean, people really want that stuff. little bit underneath here. A little bit more there. I don't know if I need to play too many games with this belt. Something just popped into my head. I think I might have missed out on Free Comic Day. Isn't that? Oh, that might have been yesterday. I'll have to look into that. It's Thursday, so it's possible that, well, I'll look into it before I start whining and complaining or whatever. All right, almost done. Hopefully we'll stay under that 40-minute mark for doodle's sake. Just gonna scoot in here for a second. I don't really need that tongue to be so prominent. I think that did it. We'll add a little bit of something to this can. I don't want to brand it. So we'll let it stay like that. All right then, folks, that's it. I hope you have a wonderful day. I don't think I need to go really any further than that. As you can see, I like to save room over here for previous videos or whatnot, and then up here you can make your way to my channel and check out some of the older stuff. So that's it. That's somebody making sure they get their delicious can of some kind of beverage, I guess. All right. Hope you have a great day. See you again. Ciao for now.